Welcome to Back to Life, a podcast about living a more intentional and fulfilling life. I'm your host, Nicole Green. Join me each week as we slow down, maybe with a calm cup of tea, and we share conversations, tips, and resources for navigating this journey called life. Okay, let's get started. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. In the last episode, we talked about how to deal with negative or toxic people in your life. And today, I want to turn the spotlight inward and talk about an all too common problem that many of us seem to struggle with, just to some degree, and that is people pleasing. Have you ever really thought about that? It's weird, huh? It's a big topic, so I want to break it down for you into three key parts. Looking at what it is really and how to spot it in yourself and others, as well as what to do about it. Sounds good? Okay, let's do this. So, what is people pleasing and why do we do it? So, the best way to describe this is people pleasers are motivated by a strong desire for approval and external validation. Basically, they are very insecure, especially in their relationships. And you know what? This insecurity makes them so consumed with what other people think about them and their expectations. And that makes them not have the word no in their vocabulary. And when they're presented with something they genuinely don't want to do or like, they'll do it anyway because they don't want the other person to dislike them or, not be in their good graces. Many of us tend to confuse people pleasing with kindness. And at first, you think it appears to be coming from a place of genuine niceness or helpfulness. But ultimately, people pleasing is inauthentic at best. And at its worst, this behavior can just be highly destructive and toxic. There is a French proverb that says, "The art of pleasing is the art of deceiving." And you know what? I completely agree. And here's why. People pleasing is like wearing a mask or smiling while you lie. It's so not honoring your true feelings if you're going to say yes to everything and everyone simply out of a need to be liked or a fear of rocking the boat because it would cause some kind of discomfort for you. You know what? Sit in it. It's okay to say no. So while people pleasers might think that they're just trying to be nice or helpful or friendly, what's actually going on is when they say yes without any boundaries or with little regard to their own true feelings, the reality of the situation and without thinking it through, which it often means that they wind up resenting the people that they say yes to. And they really just, from the beginning, just should have been honest about their feelings or their capabilities and just said no to the request. But honestly, that's easier said than done in some situations. Am I right? So I have to ask you, is this really nice? Of course not. It's not nice to the people pleasers or the people that they're trying to please. Unfortunately, spotting this behavior isn't as easy as we might think. Often we don't realize, that it's happening to us or our loved ones for a long time, if ever, and that's because people pleasing happens to be a learned behavior. When we're kids, we're taught how to behave in ways that please our parents and others who we want to like us and accept us. And it's totally normal to want to be liked and have friends and to do nice things for other people that we care about. But when wanting to be liked by some people turns into needing to be liked by everybody, well, you can see how that quickly becomes a problem. So why do so many people struggle with people pleasing? Most often this stems from not knowing who you are. It's a self-esteem issue, which is another all too common problem we as humans have. When our confidence is determined, by outside validation or approval from others, when we care too much about what other people think, we become puppets rather than people. And it's not living our who we are, and it leads to all kinds of issues in our own individual life as well as it plays out in our relationships in a negative way. So, do you think you or someone you love might be a people pleaser? Let's find out. So, I'm going to tell you 6 signs to look out for, and you see if you can relate to any of these. Oh, don't worry. You can find this list plus some additional resources in the show notes. So here we go. 1, you feel responsible for how other people feel. 2, you apologize often. 3, you can't say no. 4, you need praise to feel good. 5, you go to great lengths to avoid conflict. And 6, you don't admit when your feelings are hurt. Chances are you can recognize some of these signs in yourself or someone you know. Am I right? But do you know what it's costing you or them? The real cost of being a people pleaser is higher than most people realize. And it wreaks havoc on who you are, and it's crippling in your relationships. Because when you don't know who you are going to live that out in the way that you relate to other people. So you can just imagine what that looks like. So let me give you an example. Is who you are and what you want being replaced by the needs and happiness of others? People pleasing can slowly but surely chip away at the people pleaser's sense of self and their own thoughts, emotions, desires, dislikes, preferences, goals, and dreams. They all take a back seat in their lives. And people pleasers, because they're so often, they defer their own needs and they try to appease, they can also attract very controlling people into their lives and tend to find themselves engaged in toxic relationships. Ooh, and that's not okay, right? Also, these types of relationships are built on sand. They're not anything solid. There's not a firm foundation for that. And I'm not just talking about like a romantic relationship. I'm talking about friendships. I'm talking about the way you relate to another person. It's a counterfeit relationship because neither person is allowing the other person to be their best. Does that make sense? Okay. So now that we understand the problem, what are we going to do about it? So I have some suggestions. And here's a couple places where we can start. First, it's time to be honest with ourselves. It's time to admit when we are people pleasing. And that's going to take a moment for you to pause and pay attention to what's going on in your life and and how we are affected by the world around us. So it's time to just stop and be honest. Second, realize that we always have a choice. You always have a choice. Now that you can recognize the problem, it's up to you to make every effort possible to break free from this kind of behavior. And if you can't, you need some help to do that, then I suggest you seek out some professional helps to help you move forward in that. And then also, most important, learn how to say no. It's okay to say no. But if this is too much for you right now, at least learn how to say, let me think about it. Whenever someone asks for you for a favor or something that you're like, oh, my people pleasing is flaring up, it's perfectly okay to say that you'll need to think about it. If you don't feel comfortable saying, no, I'm not doing that, you can say, let me think about it. Because this gives you time and an opportunity to consider if you can or you should, or even if you want to, commit to saying yes or not. Make sense? Another thing, stop apologizing. Please do not apologize because you have to prioritize or put your own needs first. It's actually better for everyone if you do this, and it's not selfish at all. If you really do need to apologize for something, there's an art to that. And that's a whole nother topic that we can explore in the future. But for now, let's recognize how often we say sorry when it's not necessary or genuine, and stop it. There are a lot of things to own up and to own up to and that require an apology. but not just saying, sorry, I can't do this. Sorry. We throw sorry around a lot. So recognize that and just, determine whether this is even necessary or genuine, and literally just stop. Another thing is rely on internal esteem, not external validation. Remember this, what other people think of you is none of your business. You need to find out who you are so that you don't have to be defined by somebody else's requests or expectations. And then lastly, set some boundaries. Oh my gosh, boundaries are so important. And it's now a major buzzword and a whole nother topic on its own. So let's just let that marinate until the next episode, where we will be digging deep into how to set and enforce boundaries in our interpersonal relationships. Sounds good? Okay, until then, be well. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Back to Life podcast. Be sure to click subscribe so that you'll continue to engage with our new Back to Life community. Oh, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Hey There Nicole Green for more inspiration and tips on intentional living. Tune in next time on the Back to Life podcast as we discuss those relatable struggles of life with a dose of hope and healthy solutions. Until then, be well.